The First Interwar Period. Chapter 1, Rome and Carthage Rebuild.
Economic and military reforms.
The period following the First Punic War, known as the First Interwar Period, was marked by significant economic and military reforms in both Rome and Carthage. In the wake of their grueling 23-year conflict, both powers recognized the necessity of rebuilding and reorganizing their resources and strategies to secure their futures. The Roman Republic, having emerged victorious, faced the dual challenges of managing its newly acquired territories and addressing the war's economic impact. The indemnity imposed on Carthage brought a substantial influx of silver, but the prolonged warfare had strained Roman finances. To stabilize the economy, the Roman Senate implemented several measures, including restructuring debt and investing in infrastructure projects such as roads and harbors. These initiatives not only facilitated trade, but also helped integrate the new provinces into the Roman economic sphere. Military reforms were equally crucial. The Roman legions, though triumphant, required significant reorganization. The establishment of a more permanent standing army and the introduction of a more systematic approach to recruitment and training were pivotal changes. These reforms ensured that the Roman military could respond more effectively to future threats and maintain control over its expanding territories. Meanwhile, Carthage, despite its defeat, undertook a series of reforms to recover and strengthen its position. The Carthaginian economy, heavily reliant on trade, suffered greatly due to the war. To revive it, Carthage focused on expanding its trade networks, particularly in Africa and Spain, and invested in agricultural development. The military reforms in Carthage were equally significant. Recognizing the need for a more reliable and loyal fighting force, Carthage reduced its dependence on foreign mercenaries and began to develop a citizen militia. This period also saw the fortification of key cities and the construction of a powerful navy, laying the groundwork for Carthage's resurgence as a formidable power in the Mediterranean. Both Rome and Carthage emerged from the First Interwar Period with strengthened economies and reformed military structures, setting the stage for their continued rivalry and the eventual outbreak of the Second Punic War.
Sociopolitical changes.
The First Interwar Period after the First Punic War was a time of profound socio-political changes for both Rome and Carthage, driven by the need to address the internal pressures and external challenges that arose in the aftermath of the conflict. In Rome, the end of the war brought significant shifts in the social hierarchy and political landscape. The influx of wealth from war, spoils, and the indemnity imposed on Carthage led to a concentration of wealth among the elite. This economic disparity fueled social tensions, as the plebeian class, who bore much of the brunt of the war, demanded greater political representation and economic relief. In response, the Roman Senate enacted a series of reforms aimed at appeasing the plebeians and stabilizing the republic. Key among these were the agrarian reforms, which sought to redistribute public land, ager publicus, to war veterans and the poorer citizens. These reforms were not without controversy and resistance from the wealthy landowners, but they marked a critical step towards addressing the growing socio-economic divide. Politically, the war had elevated the status of military leaders, who now wielded considerable influence in the Senate. The prominence of generals like Marcus Atilius Regulus and Gaius Lutatius Catulus underscored the rising importance of military success in political careers. This shift contributed to the gradual militarization of Roman politics, laying the groundwork for future conflicts between ambitious military leaders. Carthage, on the other hand, faced a different set of socio-political challenges. The loss of the war and the heavy indemnity burden exacerbated existing political fractures within the Carthaginian society. The merchant oligarchy, which had dominated Carthaginian politics, came under scrutiny for their handling of the war and the subsequent peace terms. In the wake of these tensions, there was a push for broader political participation and reforms to ensure more equitable governance. One notable development was the rise of the Barcid family, led by Hamilcar Barca, who advocated for military and political reforms to restore Carthage's standing. Hamilcar's campaigns in Spain not only aimed at economic recovery through the exploitation of mineral resources, but also sought to establish a new power base independent of the traditional merchant elite. This period also witnessed significant changes in the social fabric of Carthage. The reliance on mercenaries during the war had highlighted the need for a more cohesive and loyal military force, leading to efforts to integrate native Libyans and other subject peoples more closely into the Carthaginian state. These efforts included granting greater political rights and social benefits to these groups, fostering a sense of unity and shared purpose. In both Rome and Carthage, the First Interwar Period was thus characterized by a complex interplay of social and political reforms. These changes, while often contentious and fraught with challenges, were crucial in shaping the trajectories of both powers as they navigated the uncertain landscape of the post-war era. The reforms undertaken during this period not only addressed immediate crises, but also laid the foundation for the future developments that would come to define the Mediterranean world.
Chapter 2: New Conflicts and Alliances.
Expansion and colonization efforts.
During the First Interwar Period, both Rome and Carthage embarked on ambitious expansion and colonization efforts as a means to consolidate power and secure economic resources. These initiatives were driven by the desire to recover from the First Punic War's devastation and to position themselves advantageously for future conflicts. Rome, having secured Sicily as its first province outside the Italian peninsula, turned its attention to further territorial expansion. The annexation of Sardinia and Corsica in 238 BCE was a strategic move to control important maritime routes and to curtail Carthaginian influence in the western Mediterranean. These islands provided Rome with crucial resources, such as grain and metals, which were essential for the growing republic. Additionally, Rome's focus on expanding its influence in northern Italy led to conflicts with the Gauls, resulting in the conquest of the Po Valley. This region's fertile lands and strategic location facilitated Rome's agricultural and military capabilities, further strengthening its position. Meanwhile, Carthage, under the leadership of Hamilcar Barca, initiated a vigorous expansion campaign in Spain. The rich mineral deposits in the Iberian Peninsula, particularly silver, were vital for Carthage's economic recovery and military financing. Hamilcar's campaigns not only established Carthaginian control over large parts of southern and eastern Spain, but also laid the groundwork for the future exploits of his son, Hannibal. The establishment of new colonies and fortresses in Spain allowed Carthage to build a robust power base independent of its African territories. This expansion was not merely for economic gain, it was also a strategic necessity to counterbalance Rome's growing dominance. Both powers recognized the importance of integrating their new territories into their respective economic and political systems. In Rome, the expansion efforts were accompanied by the establishment of Roman colonies, colonia, in conquered areas. These colonies served as military outposts, centers of Roman culture, and means to control newly acquired lands. The settlers, often Roman citizens and veterans, helped to Romanize the local populations and secure loyalty to the Republic. Carthage, too, implemented measures to integrate its new Spanish territories. The Carthaginian approach involved establishing trade networks and alliances with local tribes, as well as encouraging intermarriage to solidify these relationships. These efforts were crucial in maintaining control over the vast and diverse Iberian Peninsula. The expansion and colonization efforts during the First Interwar Period significantly altered the geopolitical landscape of the Western Mediterranean. Rome and Carthage's strategic moves not only aimed at immediate recovery and consolidation, but also set the stage for their continued rivalry. These actions would eventually culminate in the Second Punic War, a conflict that would further define the destiny of both powers and the broader region.
The Mercenary War and its impact.
The Mercenary War, also known as the Truceless War, was a significant conflict that erupted in the aftermath of the First Punic War. This brutal civil war, fought between Carthage and its own mercenary forces from 241 to 238 BCE, had profound and far-reaching consequences for Carthage and the broader Mediterranean region. The origins of the Mercenary War lay in the unresolved grievances of the mercenaries who had fought for Carthage during the First Punic War. These soldiers, drawn from various regions including Numidia, Iberia, and Gaul, were promised substantial payments for their service. However, Carthage, financially strained by the war and the heavy indemnity imposed by Rome, struggled to meet these obligations. When the mercenaries were finally discharged and returned to Africa, tensions quickly escalated as they demanded their overdue wages. The Carthaginian government's attempts to negotiate and delay payments only fueled the mercenaries' anger, leading to a full-scale revolt. The conflict began in the city of Sicca Veneria and soon spread across Carthage's territories in Africa. The mercenaries, now joined by disgruntled local tribes, posed a severe threat to Carthage's control over its homeland. The war was marked by extreme brutality, with both sides committing atrocities and acts of retribution. The siege of Carthage itself, though unsuccessful, highlighted the gravity of the situation and the vulnerability of the city. Carthage's eventual victory in the Mercenary War came at a high cost. The conflict severely weakened the Carthaginian military and economy, depleted its treasury, and resulted in the loss of significant territory to local tribes who had supported the mercenaries. Moreover, the war exposed the inherent risks of relying heavily on foreign mercenaries for military power. This lesson would profoundly influence Carthaginian military reforms in the following years, leading to a greater emphasis on developing a more loyal and reliable army, including the integration of citizen soldiers and local allies. The impact of the Mercenary War extended beyond Carthage. The conflict provided Rome with a strategic opportunity to assert its influence in the Western Mediterranean. Taking advantage of Carthage's weakened state, Rome seized the islands of Sardinia and Corsica, further consolidating its maritime dominance. This bold move not only expanded Rome's territorial holdings, but also underscored its willingness to exploit Carthage's vulnerabilities. The Mercenary War also had lasting effects on Carthage's internal politics. The crisis and its resolution significantly altered the balance of power within the Carthaginian government. The war discredited the ruling oligarchy and paved the way for new leaders, such as Hamilcar Barca, who advocated for military and economic reforms. Hamilcar's subsequent campaigns in Spain were partly motivated by the need to restore Carthage's prestige and secure new resources to compensate for the losses suffered during the Mercenary War. In conclusion, the Mercenary War was a pivotal episode in the First Interwar Period. It exposed the fragility of Carthage's reliance on mercenaries, led to significant military and political changes, and provided Rome with opportunities to expand its influence. The lessons learned from this conflict shaped the strategies and policies of both Carthage and Rome, setting the stage for their continued rivalry and the eventual outbreak of the Second Punic War. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great content like this. Hit the bell icon to get notifications whenever we upload new videos so you never miss out. We appreciate your support and look forward to bringing you more exciting videos.
The voices in this recording were created with the assistance of OpenAI.